Welcome to the doghouse. I hope you're all having a great day. This is going to be just my opinion on things about Otter Creek and other small towns. And I mean other small towns too. Things that are happening and people that are happening to. I want to start out with a couple of people. And it's not a criticism of them because they've been put in a position, one of them, they have to fight back somehow or another. And Thomas, I think you're an okay person, and I don't mind commenting on your site. But you are not a mole. In no way you are a mole. People shouldn't be out there criticizing you for being a mole. But you get people that are good people too, and I'm not criticizing a person you were arguing with at all. But you can fall in, and I'm talking about this other person, you can fall into the trap of dividing without intentionally doing that. When you accuse other people of doing things with no rhyme or reason, you are doing what this other guy wants you to do, is fight and divide and conquer. And that's what they will do. You can't go out there and not be as one. I mean, we all have our own opinions, and nobody is going to agree with anybody 100% of the time. That's just not going to happen. But when you go on other sites and people accuse other people of doing things, it will cause divide and conquer. I mean, why do you think they pointed at Super Dave and pointed at Thomas of being the mole? Because they know they can get people to buy into it directly or indirectly and accomplish their goals. The thing is, you have to decide if that's true or not. And I don't believe either one of them are moles, okay? But when you get on there, other people get on there and you start criticizing other people on other people's platforms, you are causing a divide within them platforms. And you don't realize it a lot of times, but that's exactly what you're doing. You can go out there and say it by words, but you are causing a divide. Whether it's intentional or not, that's what happens. And most of the time, it's not intentional at all, but this is what will happen. And like I said, Thomas isn't a mole, and neither is Super Dave. And when you can dislike them too, which I like both of them, by the way, but you can dislike them, but you don't go on channels and cut them down. If your goal is to get things out about a family in need and a family that's been unjustifiably put on the chopping blocks, you need not to go on other people trying to get it out podcast and spread your dirty laundry. That don't mean you can't disagree with somebody. That's well and fine. But when you go to the point of an argument, you're falling into the trap of the other side. And you really are. You're falling into that trap. And they're sitting back and laughing because you don't think you are, and you really are. Everybody has the right to say what they want to say, but when it's on another person's channel, you kind of have to be a little, you can say what you want, but you don't need to be arguing. And I know other people think it's cool to see this, and that's what they want because nobody will, or not nobody, but A lot of people won't recognize what's going on. And it is obvious. Do you want this family together? Do you want this family to succeed? Then you quit trying to argue with each other on somebody else's channel. And I realized that Thomas was defending himself. Thomas, I've watched him on his other videos too of his own, having to defend himself. But them are his videos. He didn't have to go out on somebody else's videos to do this. But you have to stay together and work as one. You can't go out there and do this stuff. It's very counterproductive. You might not think so, but just sit back and look at what's happening. If you have a problem with somebody, other than a few little disagreements here and there, and then you want to say something to them, have them come to your channel or email them or whatever, there's no sense in going to the extreme of making a divide out of other people. That's what you do. You become trying to divide other people, and that's what happens. And it's going to happen every time if this happens. I don't agree with everybody. Nobody really agrees with me a lot of the time on a lot of the issues. That's fine. They have a right to their opinion. They have a right to express their opinion. But yeah, there's a fine line in when you're trying to help somebody and you cross that line because of hatred of another person. You can't be doing that. There's certain things that come up. If you have a question with somebody, drop them an email and tell them what the deal is. It don't need to be brought out because that is what causes divide. And that's exactly what some people are doing. Good and bad, but either side you're on or either side you're looking at, you can cause divide either way. That don't mean the other side can't cause divide. They kind of have to a point too. But we got to get back to where we're thinking good, positive, and going forward and standing as one for this family. Don't be divided. Nobody's perfect, not even them, not me, not nobody. Nobody on the other side's perfect either. But you got to stay focused. And you can't have a bunch of people criticizing others on a constant basis out there because that is not focus. That is helping the other side. Thomas don't deserve what he gets. Super Dave don't deserve what he gets. Lisa don't deserve what she gets. But all of them have different channels. So don't go in there and criticize other people on them channels. If you disagree, you disagree, and you can say that, but you don't have to sit there and harp on the hatred you may have for somebody. You don't have to like everybody, but the main goal is standing up as one and not divided. Now, I know there's a lot of good people in Otter Creek that's being caught in the middle here, and that's a shame. I'm from a small town or a small area. I didn't live in town. Growing up on a ranch, town life is. The closest town to me was 22 people. And I think they counted the dogs to get it that high. But you got to learn what is going on. You have to stop and think before you attack. Yes, you can have a different opinion about somebody on your channel. That's one thing. But when you start going and not doing what you need to do, that's another thing. In other words, and I'm going to keep repeating this, Thomas and Super Dave are really good people. And what's happening to them, they do not deserve. Not that somebody criticizing them don't have the right to a different opinion. That's all well and fine. But you have to, if you want to really, really be as one, sometimes discretion's a better part of valor, and maybe that needs to be used more often. People in that town don't deserve what's going on right now, and they really don't. It's a shame what is happening to them, and it really is. They're in the middle of both sides here. And we can say who we think's right and who's wrong. Them are opinions, and an opinion can be good to give the other side a view, and that means you listen to the other side. You don't have to agree with them, but listen to what they're saying. Both sides can do this. Doesn't mean you have to change your opinion, but it's good to look at on both sides of things. Because the people of Otter Creek don't need to go through what they're going through. One person could stop this if this person so desired. But obviously, this is kind of with this too. But I was criticized the other day. I get criticized quite a bit. But the other day, a person left, and he may be a good person. I have nothing against this guy. Leaves me a note. How would you like if them signs were in your yard? I'd either do two things, because everybody around me know that they've been a lie. I'd have just took them down, or the other alternative, I would have called the police, got documentation, because that is important. But it would have never come out on here or any other platform. Not a word would have been said about it. The proper authorities would have been notified, and it would have been taken care of. The only reason you wouldn't do something like that is maybe you think you're going to get some clicks and views and a little bit of money on the side of it. Maybe so, maybe not. But there had to be some reason they weren't turned in. Because even if you're there or not there, they could have been turned in. The worst thing to do would pull them up if somebody else put them there. I just don't believe that Lynette put them there. But if she did, the other side did everything 100% wrong in how they handled it. But like I said, you just turn it in, forget about it, or you turn them in and you don't put it out for everybody on the internet to hear, unless you're after some money and some more views. And that would cause controversy. Gets you money and it gets you views. Even on here you can see that. And by the way, people, I'm not monetized, so don't get on here and say I'm saying this to get monetized, or I'm monetized and just want more people. I'm not monetized. So these are my opinions. I do mostly shorts, and I'm going to keep doing them more than I'm doing anything else, because that's what I like to do. But on occasion, you really have to, stupid phone, you really have to look at what's going on overall. And, why? Why would you not just keep your mouth shut, let the authorities handle it, everything's taken care of? You had to not do it that way for a reason. That's like driving down where a person lives, and you have every right to drive down that road. Everybody going seeing you, and everybody there has that right. But when you're hollering and carrying on when you go by, because you can no longer see over the fence, that is a if anybody believes you're in danger or you think you're in danger, nobody in their right mind would think that would be a smart move. If you really thought you were in danger, the last thing you would do is what you're doing there. And it's common sense. I mean, it makes for great YouTube and other platforms. Great idea. You can get haters, you can get everything against this person by doing that. But reality is you're not afraid. And everybody is starting to see that. That's my opinion. Maybe in your mind you're doing it for some other reason, but that's what it looks like. And I mean, it's obvious. Even a police report even said that about you. A couple of them. One saying you was doing this to try to get her to violate the protection order, which also saying you're not afraid of them. But if your intentions are you really afraid, you're really stupid for doing what you're doing because you're doing the opposite. See, words have one meaning. Actions have another a lot of times. Your actions don't consistent with the words. The words are different than the actions. The two in this case don't go together. And no, I'm not a hater of any of them there. I hate what one guy's doing, his actions. I really hate that. Doesn't mean I have to hate the guy. Because I don't know him. Maybe if I knew him, it'd be different. I'm just going by what's out there. And I think that them other two have been really, really been taken advantage of as far as hate. Who would really? And I understand the food in one way, but if you really liked animals, you would not have gone and stopped them from getting food for their animals from the grocery store. That is out of despite. That is not out of love for animals. It seems to me like maybe you have animals just to make yourself look good and you really don't like them. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's the way it comes off. Maybe you don't realize it. Maybe you don't care. But I'm just saying that's the way it comes off. And I'm not accusing of this guy of anything. That's just the way it looks like as far as the animals go. But why would you want to go in there and destroy a person that is trying to take care of animals just for your self satisfaction? That's not a Christian value. That's a Lucifer value. And I understand that whether you're right or you're wrong, or if other people are right or wrong, nobody should say it. You can't be one's friend. You can like this guy or you can like the other people. That's all well and fine. That is your business who you like and who you don't like. But when you don't like somebody and it becomes harassment, that's a different story. When you do this, it's bad for everybody because you're not making yourself look good. Like I'm in fear of my life. If you was in the fear of your life, you wouldn't be going down the road like you are. If even the police officer mentioned that, and it's obvious. You may get your friends to buy into it, but if they really sit and look, they could see that that may not be true. That's like, and I don't care either side here on the Otter Creek deal needs to sit back and look at what both have put out. I mean, there's documentation, but just put it out. Come up forward and say, this is what we got. This is what's been out there. Now, in court, there'll be a few things you wouldn't want to put out there. But I mean, what's out there is out there. Take it, if you're, whether you like this one person or not, look at what he's saying, look at what he's doing. If you don't like this other lady, look at what she's saying and look what she's doing. Look at the documentation. Don't look at it as a friend or foe. Look at what's there and honestly go out and look. Now, I know he's got people following him because probably indirectly he's getting them views and money because of what they're doing now. Doesn't make it right, and I have nothing against people going out and making as much money as they can. The more power to them. But sometimes ethics plays a part. When you get on the bandwagon of something that is not right to make money, doesn't make it right. Your excuses don't mean a damn thing because it's still wrong. It's just the way it is. You can't go out there and have it both ways. Now, other things, like I said, the people in that town does not deserve this at all. Coming from a small town, well, you can have a different perspective of things. And I don't care how long I've been gone away from the ranch or the country. Being from a small town never, ever, ever leaves you. I went to, because the bus, this is a little bit about me, going to school from, the bus would come and pick us up at our places. They just didn't go down the road. So from all the ins and out of people's places, picking them up, probably close to 50 miles to junior high and high school where I went. Look it up, called Arco, Idaho. It wasn't that far if the bus went straight, but with all the ins and outs, it took a while. One place that we lived 3 miles off the road. That's where I lived most of the time. Till I was 3 years old, we lived, or third grade, I should say, 3 years old. I was still there at 3, but at third grade, we moved up from one place, and the bus went by there. But we was going at that time going to a one-room schoolhouse, so Mom had to drive us. She was also the cook there, so that made a difference. But the one-room schoolhouse I went to did not have bus transportation. It had it going to Howe and Arco, which when you got sixth grade or above, that's the way it was. But where I was at from after third grade, the bus would take us into Howe because it was going in the opposite direction. That's a true story, and that really did happen. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of where I lived, and I'm proud of every small town I come across because there's something in my heart that will always be there. And when I see people not treated right, I do holler a little bit. Not a lot. I do get on and give my opinion. I'm not giving up my shorts. That's where I get my views and that from mostly. And most of my followers are from subscribers, or them from my shorts, not here. So I have nothing to gain subscription wise or anything else from doing this, but I'm doing it because I can and it's the right thing to do. And I'll keep doing it. But once again, here and there, because I'm still sticking with my shorts. But that was just a little bit about me. Now let me get back to some things that happen. You know, all of us have our kinks and everything that's wrong, and we all do the wrong things. But when you exploit it and you're exploiting it for money, that's not a Christian attitude. If you're going to put something out there for money and say you're a religious person, maybe you're not. Maybe there's something wrong with your actions. Look at a person that had a monument there, and this is a disgrace to anybody that backs this, and he removed it. And there's film of this person doing this. You can figure out his name, and it isn't up to me to tell you. And if you don't know his name, oh well. But anyway, it was proven that that was on this other person's property, not the one doing it. Therefore, he was in the wrong for doing it, and that was a illegal action, what he did. But here's some of the excuses that's come out is, well, they needed taught a lesson. And the reason why they had to be taught a lesson, they helped the enemy of the other person. How is that a Christian attitude to have? Why are you saying you're a Christian and yet you do something like this? He even had a relative of theirs virtually backed him and not their relation for the same reason. That was wrong. And he's even said he's making more money at doing this than he's ever made. Well, guess what? Don't make it right. You're putting money above what is ethically right. Is that really right to do that? Or maybe you're in the wrong. I even heard you use Christian beliefs. Explain to me how doing that is something a Christian would do. God did things because he had to, and he didn't say you do it too. He cleaned out the money changers in his temples. Does that mean you can go in there and do the same thing? No. You just have to do what's right. And you guys all should be ashamed out there that are ditching people in that small town and criticizing and harassing somebody, because it affects everybody there, not just the person you're going after. And to me, when as many complaints as was put against that child, and lies that are on tape, lies been told by people there, like she couldn't talk, that was a lie, and other things out there which were lies put out, proven lies. But all these child protection service, that's what it's called here, proven unfounded. And it made great content by doing this, but it didn't make it right. That's like trying to push which are not family really, but push the aunt to the biological aunt to try to get the child. She had no business with it because it wasn't part of her family. By law. I mean, you can argue it was still part of her family, but by law, it was not. And that's what they're going off of. It's a sealed record. You cannot get the information. You are not privy to that information. This lady didn't even give her right address. And this was okay to put her there just so you could punish somebody else and make them miserable because you don't like them. That also is not a Christian attitude. That is a Lucifer attitude. Yeah, a Lucifer attitude. And some of these people that follow him and has made money off of him, and like I said, it's all well and fine. That's their business to do that. But the ethical end of it will be God's business. Whether you believe in him or not, he's going to take care of it in the end. The greed has set so far into some of these people, and I'm saying some of them, that it is unreal. They are willing to worship money over a human being. That's right. Money over a human being, a human soul. Somebody that thinks. Somebody that has emotions in them. Somebody that's been treated like a bunch of crap, which they should not have been. Even a sane person out there would look at this, and they may not even like this family. I call them a family. Versus this other guy, maybe they don't like both of them. Maybe they don't. But they can see what's going on. You can't keep using Christian values to destroy. You're not God. You will never be God. And your followers are not God, will never be God. And the hatred in their hearts are so prevalent, it is so obvious that they want to hurt everybody. Maybe there's a problem within their own soul that they have to do this. Why is money more important to you than a human being? It's disgusting when you do this. That human being or beings and that child should have never been put in this situation. If there was a problem there, there's a courts, and it never had to come out. When you did put it out, you better believe there's going to be people that'll stand up for them. And there's stupid comments in one way. And this guy may be nice. I ain't going to say he's not. He sent a deal out saying, how would you, I'm trying to put it, it was, I'll bet you $100 this one guy's going to win. He give the name, but I'm not. And I'm like, you're a fool. You're a really fool. Granted, one side is not going to win, the other side is, regardless. That's just how it comes out. Only a fool would go in and say, they're winning. I'm going to bet they're winning. Because you do not know what them jurors will think. You may, in your mind, think he's right, or in your mind, you may think she's right. But when it goes to court, it's up to them jurists to make that decision. Whether you agree with that decision or not is another thing. Why would I bet money on what a jury's going to do? I'm not a mind reader. I don't claim to be a mind reader. I do claim to stand up for people that need stood up for. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not doing this for monetization because I'm not. I'm not even, because you know how many hours it takes when I do shorts, like I said, mostly how many hours that would take? Next to impossible. But I don't know if I had that many, I'd do it. I I'm impressed what I've got, but that's here nor there as far as a personal thing goes. But you know, why do people go out and try to destroy others like that? Now, if it's wrong, there are people doing wrong, they need taken care of. But when you're doing it, obviously you're making money off of it, and it's been proven. You're not losing money off of this, you're gaining money. You may lose money here, but you're gaining here. And any businessman would have already figured this out. It would have sat down and said, well, I do this. I'm going to gain views or money or whatever. People will give me money. But I will lose over here some. All that, and this guy's smart enough to already figure that out. He won't tell anybody that, or she, but that's already calculated in what's going on. You don't see it, but it's there. Good business move? Oh, you bet it's a good business move. Good ethical move? No, not a good ethical move. God would not be proud of him. I don't care if a person says they are religious and they follow Christian beliefs or another church. Don't even have to be Christian beliefs. But I follow their beliefs. I follow their beliefs. Them are good words, but so many of them's actions are different than their words. And this does not help anybody or anything. All you do when you're doing this, and all you do going after people like this, yes, you ego is stoked. Oh yeah, your ego's stoked, but you're taking out people in a small town. You're destroying people for your personal gains. You're willing to walk over everybody for your own good. Yes, this happens all over America, not just one spot. It's just a little more noticeable in smaller towns. Nothing that's happening in Otter Creek doesn't happen somewhere else. It usually gets corrected. And when you have older people, it makes it a little bit easier to run over everybody. And it really does. It becomes much easier to have a plan. And I know damn well that this one person had a plan before he moved there, and an option plan when he moved there. It had nothing to do with his neighbors. Then he is profiting from his neighbors. Maybe he lost a few money here or there, but the profit's because of his neighbor. And this is what is also sad. You got people out there that can't afford a lawyer, which a list of lawyers gone out are not lawyers. Her name's gone out and John's name's gone out for possible help. That's a good thing. But the guy that has some money, well, he gets on there and claims he's broke and gets people to send him money. And he's not, and he calls other people grifters. And I know a lot of people on here that do that. I know there's people on here when they get arrested by the police get on here and say they need bail money. And maybe the bail money's $300 or $400, and they got $3,000 or $4,000 put into their account. Do you think that money's going to go back? No, they're keeping it. And yet, people like that will accuse others of being drifters. And this other guy, he's a pretty good salesman. He really is. And I've been in sales, but he's a pretty good salesman. He can convince people like the old snake oil salesman used to do. He'll get followers. They can go out and do things for him. No, he's not out there saying go do it. It's an indirect thing, and he don't have to say it. Why would he say it? He don't need to. They'll do it. That's what it's all about. And trying to, all these lawsuits out there are just a bunch of mumble jumble crap. If it was really that bad as it's put out there to be, if you're not here trying to make money and get money in your own pocket, all this would have been taken care of behind the scenes, and very few people would have known it ever happened. Oh, if they did that, you wouldn't get much money out of it, would you? It seems like I'm dislike the guy. Like I said, I don't know him. I dislike the idea he is doing. I'm not here bashing him. I'm bashing the ideas he is doing. And there is a difference. Except that person's out there crying he's a Christian. That really gets me. And great words. He's got some great words when it comes to Christianity and the gospel. I tell you what, he talks really, really good. Watch the actions. Forget the words. Watch what the actions is, because they don't come together. And God's not going to say, well, you had good words, so you're okay. That's not going to happen that way. But, people got to understand, if they want to fight, though, I'm going to kind of go back to the first here. You can't be divided. You have to stop as individuals and look. See if you're trying to divide, because if it can be very much non intentional. But you need to keep an eye on that, because I tell you what, because he's good enough, he can do things that you won't notice. Good person does that too. Not necessarily good in the eyes of the Lord, but a good person can do that. So stand together. Don't stand apart. Why do you want to divide? Why do you want to go out and criticize people that's trying to get something done? And if you know this is dividing and doing it, you're in the wrong. You're very much in the wrong. And this is not one individual, by the way. This is just an overall view of what happens. Now back to a few things that's happening in Otter Creek, and my heart really is with that small town, because I know what it's like. I know the good feeling you get from being from a small town. It's the greatest feeling you can ever have. But when you have people come in there, right, what they're doing, right or wrong, you are hurting that town, and shame on you. I don't care if half the town hated me. It don't matter. You have no business going there and trying to destroy people's lives for your own gain. That's just not right. And all your followers out there are just a joke for the most part. They could be great people, but what they are doing is a joke. True Christians don't do what they are doing. True Christians do not, in any way, shape, or form, do what they are doing. It's just, and I grew up in a home, my mom was definitely 100% a Christian. And I see this other stuff going on, and it don't even add up what they're doing to what a real Christian. Mom didn't only say it, but she lived it. Yeah, there's 10 kids, but and none of us ever been to prison. Couples been to jail, not for stupid things. I have never been arrested. I've never been to jail, never been to prison. And I'm 66, so mom taught us right somehow, but she lived it. A lot of people say they do, but they really don't. My dad, not so much, but my mom lived it. You know, small towns need help too. Small towns need to be stood up for. People trying to destroy them, and that's what they're really doing. What's happening now, and it's not the family's fault, but what is happening now is an indirect way to destroy people in that town. Why, in all good conscience, you want to do that? You think it's funny? You think it's funny to go out and destroy people? And I'm not talking about going out laughing and telling jokes and all this about them or joking around a little bit about them. That's all well and fine. But you're taking it beyond that point. These people take it beyond that point, and it's not funny. You can joke around about a person, and I have, all well and fine. But there's a point you go beyond it, and that's where it's at now. And when you go beyond that point, even though you don't live in that town, you start criticizing and battling. You're hurting the people in that town. Of course, if you're getting money, you don't care. You're a shameful person if you're doing that. You're not a good person, and money won't buy happiness in that way. You can hate the world, but don't hate the people trying to do good in it.